These Aussie cruisers seem normal at first glance. These cop cars blended in with the traffic. But under the hood, raw muscle. From full-size sedans to compact coupes. This is a ride through Australia's secret police fleet. Each car looks ordinary. Each has a dark secret. Welcome to Australia's shocking muscle cars you didn't know the police used. Number 15, 1971 Ford XY Falcon 500 Interceptor. Under the nondescript blue paint sits a monster. In 1971, New South Wales police quietly ordered special Falcon Interceptors. They looked like plain Falcon 500 sedans, but under the bonnet was full GT running gear. These undercover machines received the top 351 cubic inch Cleveland V8 with 4 barrel heads, the same motor used in the legendary Falcon GT, making roughly 300 horsepower. It gave these humble sedans some very serious highway punch. Inside, they were upgraded with heavy-duty cooling systems, bigger brakes, and stout FMX automatic transmissions tough enough to handle the brutal demands of high-speed chases. On paper, it was just a Falcon 500, but in reality, it was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Dressed in official cruise blue livery with minimal badging, these Interceptors blended into traffic seamlessly. They looked just like every other family car rolling down the freeway, until the sirens lit up and the hammer dropped. Undercover highway patrol officers used these sleepers to chase down speeders at full freeway pace, often surprising hot rodders and muscle car owners who thought they could outrun the law. Few cars on the road could match their combination of raw power, reliability, and stealthy appearance. This made the 1971 Falcon Interceptor one of the deadliest sleeper police cars Australia ever fielded. It wasn't about flash, it was about results. But while Ford was busy building monsters for the highway, Holden had a secret weapon brewing too, one that didn't rely on brute size, but on sharp handling and lightweight speed. And once it hit the streets, it proved you didn't need a big body to deliver big performance. Number 14. Holden Tarana LCLJ GTR-XU1, 1972 to 1973. Next up is a tiny Aussie legend, the Holden Tarana GTR-XU1. This compact two-door coupe packed a surprising punch and earned its place among law enforcement's most effective tools. NSW Highway Patrol added these nimble rockets to their fleet in the early 70s, looking for something faster and lighter than the big V8 cruisers. Under the bonnet was a 3.05-liter 186 CI, straight 6-engine breathing through 3 twin-choke carburetors. It made around 160 horsepower, not mind-blowing by today's standards. But when paired with the Tarana's featherweight body, it turned into a serious highway hunter. The Tarana's real secret was its balance. Its nimble chassis, lightweight, and high-revving engine gave it quick acceleration and confident handling that outclassed many bigger V8s in a chase. Police took full advantage of this, equipping their GTR XU1s with additional suspension bracing, taller gearing for better highway performance, and durable mechanical upgrades. Painted in subdued police gray or blue and blending seamlessly with civilian traffic, they could easily catch unsuspecting drivers by surprise. On the open road, these Taranas could run flat out to around 160 kilometers per hour, chasing down offenders who underestimated their small stature. NSW police even managed to snag a few Bathurst-spec 1973 XU1s, making them some of the most capable pursuit cars of their time. It's wild to think that a car originally sold as a family-friendly coupe was terrorizing speeders on Australian highways. And speaking of chasing trouble, what if I told you the next police car wasn't just faster, it was bigger, wider, and packed pure American muscle under its hood? Number 13, 1976 Chrysler Valiant Charger 770 Police Edition. When Falcons got heavy in the mid-70s, Aussie cops started looking elsewhere. They turned to a Charger. The 1976 Valiant Charger 770 was fitted with a special police pack that gave it real teeth. Under its bonnets had a big 360 CI 5.9-liter Chrysler LA V8 pushing out 255 horsepower. That might sound modest today, But back then it was more than enough, especially since the Charger was significantly lighter than the full-size sedans most patrol units were used to. Mated to a rugged 3-speed torque flight automatic in a sure grip limited slip diff, the Charger was surprisingly agile for its size. In standard police white paint with simple steel rally wheels, it didn't exactly look wild until the lights came on. By the late 70s, Tasmanian and New South Wales highway patrol units were using Chargers to keep up with modern, faster traffic. To cope with the demands of high-speed work, officers ticked options like extra suspension, bracing, and taller axle ratios for better top-end speed. The Charger may have looked tame on the outside, but under pressure, it was pure outlaw muscle. When the sirens blared and the gas pedal hit the floor, this coupe shocked more than a few First World War drivers who thought they could outrun the law. But while the Charger brought solid American firepower to the table, Ford wasn't ready to step aside. The next machine was bigger, tougher, and faster than almost anything else on the road at the time. Number 12, 1976 Ford XC Falcon 5.8L, hardtop highway patrol. Cops still needed big cruisers that could cover long distances at speed. Enter the Ford XC Falcon, introduced in 1976. NSW highway patrol buyers went for the rare hardtop coupe version, fitted with the legendary 351 Cleveland V8. Straight from the factory, it had about 5.8 liters, 351 cubic inches, of muscle under the hood. Ford claimed roughly 300 horsepower from this motor. Though emissions controls had started to nibble away at the numbers, but even so, it was more than enough to outrun nearly every sedan on the road. These highway monsters kept a low profile. Most wore standard Falcon looks, and some were even rebadged as Fairmonts to blend in more easily. But hidden inside were heavy-duty cooling fans, reinforced suspension guards, and even a special sump protection plate to survive the brutal conditions of Australian freeway pursuits. The big coupe looked like a luxury cruiser, with plush interiors and a sleek, imposing shape. But deep down, it packed the heart of a GT racer. New South Wales Highway Patrol was one of the few units to field these beasts, and on Sydney's highways, they terrorized lead-foot drivers with ruthless efficiency. No one expected a Sunday driver Falcon to rocket past at full tilt, sirens wailing. That element of surprise made the XC Falcon hardtop one of the most devastating tools in the police arsenal. But while Ford was building monsters for the open road, Holden was quietly cooking up a secret weapon of their own, one that looked like a sleepy sedan, but couldn't hunt down anything at full throttle. And hey, if you're loving these forgotten police beasts so far, don't forget to hit subscribe, because the next cars will make you question everything you thought you knew about Aussie muscle. Number 11. 1978 Holden HZ Kingswood SL Police Pursuit Pack. At first glance, the HZ Kingswood looked like the ultimate dad-mobile. Beige paint, bench seats, vinyl roof, it screamed slow and steady. You'd expect to see one parked outside a bakery or shuffling through suburban streets at a casual pace. But lurking beneath some of these sedans was Holden's Special Police Pursuit Package, and it turned these everyday cruisers into hidden weapons. Under the hood, many police-issue HZs packed the trusty 5.0L 308 cubic inch V8, producing around 250 horsepower. Matched with a heavy-duty turbo-hydromatic 400 transmission and reinforced cooling systems, these Kingswoods were built for serious, high-speed action across Australia's vast highways. The big surprise wasn't just the power, it was the handling. Thanks to Holden's newly introduced radial-tuned suspension, RTS system, the HZ Kingswood didn't wallow like earlier models. RTS gave the big Holden sharper steering response and significantly flatter cornering, huge advantages for cops trying to keep up during high-speed pursuits. Some police-spec HZs even came fitted with limited slip differentials and larger brakes, adding extra muscle where it mattered most, all neatly hidden behind modest hubcaps and plain paintwork. To the average motorist, they looked like just another family Kingswood, but under the skin, they were ready to fly. Light up the blues, stomp the gas, and the Pursuit Kingswood could hammer down the highway with a vengeance. HZ Pursuit Kingswoods weren't flashy. They were smart, tough, and incredibly effective. And speaking of sneaky muscle, wait until you see the next Ford that turned plain Jane family sedans into undercover highway hunters. Number 10. 1980 Ford XD Falcon 5.8 V8 Pursuit. When Ford introduced the XD Falcon, it brought a tougher, more muscular look, and the police took full advantage. The XD Pursuit Falcons were serious machines underneath their clean exteriors. Packing a 351 Ci 5.8L Cleveland V8, they made around 295 horsepower. But the real magic wasn't just horsepower, it was the brutal low-end torque that made these cars launch hard and fast. That torque gave highway patrol officers the instant acceleration they needed to chase down offenders at a moment's notice. Ford didn't just give these XDs a strong motor and call it a day. Special police pack versions added reinforced cooling systems, heavy-duty brakes, firmer suspension springs, and even calibrated speedometers to endure the punishing demands of pursuit work. These upgrades made the XD Pursuit one of the most effective highway interceptors of its time. On the outside, however, it was a different story. Painted in standard factory colors with minimal badging and dressed up like any commuter car, the XD Falcon flew under the radar perfectly. But stomp the throttle and it could rocket to top speeds near 130 miles per hour. A serious figure for the early 80s. The XD Pursuit Falcons proved that sometimes the most dangerous machines are the ones you never see coming. But what if you needed something even sharper? Something that could chase down trouble, not just on the highway, but through tight city streets and winding lanes. That's where Holden's next move comes into play. Number 9, 1982, Holden Commodore SLE V8, Police Suspect. As the 80s rolled on, police forces started looking for lighter, sharper alternatives to full-size sedans. Enter the Holden Commodore SLE. It was a smaller, tighter package than the massive Kingswoods that had ruled the roads before, and that made it a perfect weapon for modern policing. In police spec, the SLE could be optioned with the 308 Ci 5.0L V8, tuned for better mid-range power delivery. Paired with a tough turbo 350 automatic and uprated brakes and suspension, the SLE didn't just move, it handled. Despite its muscle under the hood, the SLE kept a deceptively plush appearance. Chrome accents, plush velour seating, and wood-grain dashboards gave it a premium vibe. But underneath, it was all business. These Commodores could comfortably cruise over 120 miles per hour and had the agility to dance through tight corners, a huge advantage over the older, heavier patrol cars. Officers trusted the V8's nimbleness during city pursuits, where every second and every maneuver mattered. Outwardly, though, they looked just like another middle-class commuter car. Blend into traffic, flip the lights, stomp the gas, and boom. The V8 Commodore revealed its true colors. And if you think that's impressive, you'll want to strap in. The next Ford wasn't just built for comfort. It was engineered to end highway chases before they even started. Number 8, 1984 Ford XE Falcon ESP, Police Pursuit. Now we're getting into real cult legend territory. The Ford XE Falcon ESP wasn't a dedicated police model, but some Aussie forces figured out it was perfect for high-speed patrol. It carried the DNA of a true performance machine underneath its refined looks, and that made it a dangerous weapon when put in the right hands. Underneath the mild body lines was a 351 Ci 5.8-liter Cleveland V8, one of the last times this legendary engine was offered. It made around 270 to 290 horsepower, depending on spec. Paired with either a rugged 4-speed manual or a heavy-duty automatic. Even though emission standards were starting to clamp down, the Falcon ESP still had more than enough grunt for serious pursuit work. The ESP package wasn't just cosmetic. It added firmer suspension for better cornering, 4-wheel disc brakes for serious stopping power, and upgraded seats to keep drivers planted during high-speed maneuvers. Some police versions even receive factory heavy-duty cooling systems and special instrumentation designed for the demands of highway patrol work. On the street, the XEESP looked like a slightly fancy Falcon. Nicer wheels, blacked-out trim, and a clean, understated design. But stomp the throttle, and this car could roar to 130 miles per hour without breaking a sweat, leaving unsuspecting speeders in its dust. It was one of the final chapters in the era of V8-powered police Falcons, and today surviving examples are highly sought after by collectors. The Falcon ESP proved that even in the tightening 80s, Aussie cops weren't backing down. But if you think those highway bruisers were wild, wait until you see what Holden cooked up next. A factory-built street fighter so crazy, even the police wanted a few. And if you're still with us, you're clearly a true gearhead. So hit that like button and stick around, because it's time to meet the beast they called the Blue Meanie. Number 7, 1985 Holden VK Commodore SS Group A Blue Meanie Police Special. By the mid-1980s, police forces needed something faster, sharper, and tougher. And Holden's Group A SS Commodore, nicknamed the Blue Meanie, answered the call. Built for homologation racing, the VK Group A took everything that made Holden's road cars great and dialed it up to 11. Under the hood sat a 4.9-liter, 304 cubic inch V8, tuned to produce around 275 horsepower. It wasn't just about brute force. This was a complete performance package built for serious drivers who needed control at high speeds. The Blue Meanie wasn't just made for the showroom. A few were quietly snapped up by Australian police departments, particularly in Victoria, where high-speed freeway patrols demanded the best. Police spec VK Group As were toned down visually, dressed in subtle colors instead of the trademark bright blue. But they were deadly serious underneath. With precision handling, upgraded brakes, and toughened components, these Commodores could outpace and outlast just about anything on the road at the time. This wasn't just another family sedan. It was a race-bred machine disguised as a highway cruiser, capable of hunting down even the most determined speeders. To most civilians, it looked like just another Holden rolling down the freeway. But stomp the throttle, and the Blue Meanie revealed its true nature. And if you thought a race car on the streets was wild, wait until you hear about the Holden that secretly hid Corvette DNA under its skin. Number 6, 1986 Holden VL Commodore SS Group ASV. The VL Commodore SS Group ASV took everything great about the VK and turned it up another notch. This time, Holden partnered with HSV, Holden Special Vehicles, to create a sharper, meaner machine that could dominate both the racetrack and the open road. Under the hood was a heavily revised 5.0-liter V8, pushing around 245 to 250 horsepower. But it wasn't just about raw power. The SV package gave the VL better suspension, improved brakes, and a lighter curb weight, making it a true weapon in skilled hands. Police versions, especially in Victoria, were even more specialized. They received calibration tweaks, heavy-duty cooling upgrades, and pursuit-rated tuning to ensure these cars could survive long, high-speed pursuits across Australia's endless highways. Outwardly, they didn't draw attention. Finished in muted colors with minimal badging, they blended in with normal traffic. But unleash the throttle, and these police VLs roared like a Corvette in disguise, snapping heads back and leaving would-be speeders stunned in their wake. The VL Commodore SS Group ASV proved that Holden wasn't messing around when it came to performance. It gave police the perfect mix of stealth, speed, and handling. But if you thought Holden had all the fun, think again. Because the next legend shows that Ford wasn't about to give up the Aussie muscle cop crown that easily. Number 5, 1991 Ford EB Falcon GT Police Interceptor prototype. By the early 90s, Ford needed something fresh to compete, and they teased it with the EB Falcon GT. Built in limited numbers, the EB GT featured a 5.0-liter Windsor Phi 8 making 200 kilowatts, around 270 horsepower, and 385 newton meters of torque. It wasn't the lightest machine on the road, but once it got moving, it had monstrous highway punch. The EB GT could run flat out for hours, making it an intriguing option for Australian police who needed serious muscle for freeway patrols. Although the EB GT was officially a civilian project, a few specially tuned EB Falcon prototypes found their way into police testing programs, especially in New South Wales. These police-spec EB Falcons got tougher cooling systems, upgraded brakes, pursuit-rated transmissions, and calibrated speedometers. Everything needed for serious law enforcement duty. Outwardly, they still looked like your average Falcon sedan, which only added to their sleeper factor on the highways. The EB-GT wasn't mass-adopted by the police, but those few examples proved one thing. Ford still had the muscle to build a true Aussie cruiser killer. And when you saw one in your rearview mirror, civilian or cop version, you knew you were looking at serious business. And just when you thought we were out of surprises, the next police car wasn't even a V8 monster. It was a 6-cylinder beast that still gave the bad guys nightmares. Number 4. 1993 Holden VP Commodore SS Police Pack. The VP Commodore SS showed that you didn't always need a massive V8 to build a fearsome police car. Packing a 5.0-liter V8 producing about 224 horsepower, the VP SS was lighter and tighter than many of its predecessors. It could sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just over 6 seconds. A serious number for the early 90s, and more than enough to outrun most everyday traffic. It wasn't just quick, it was nimble too, offering better handling dynamics than the heavier Commodores that came before it. Police pursuit spec VPSS models weren't just showroom cars slapped with lights. They received significant upgrades under the skin, including improved cooling systems, recalibrated and certified speedometers, firmer suspension setups, and heavy-duty transmission coolers to survive long, high-speed chases. On the outside, they wore plain factory colors and rolled on understated steel wheels. Perfect camouflage for lurking in traffic. It wasn't until the sirens lit up and the throttle dropped that you realized you were dealing with something far more serious than a commuter car. These VPs could hold top speeds over 210 kilometers per hour and were tough enough to handle Australia's brutal heat and long stretches of open road. The VP Commodore SS proved that lighter, smarter muscle could dominate the streets without needing flashy looks or oversized engines. But just when you thought Aussie police cars couldn't get any crazier, the next machines push things into pure madness. If you're loving these hidden legends, now's the time to hit subscribe and buckle in, because the final few cars are the wildest of them all. You won't believe what almost became an official pursuit weapon. Number 3. 1996 HSV versus GTSR Police Trial Unit. This was the wild card nobody expected. The HSV vs GTSR was Holden's ultimate 1990s muscle machine. Hand-built, race-bred, and painted in that infamous yellow. It packed a 5.7-liter stroker V8 pumping out around 288 kilowatts, 385 horsepower. Absolutely monstrous for its time. Every GTSR was loaded with go-fast parts straight from HSV's racing program, making it one of the most serious production cars ever built on Aussie soil. While it wasn't a full production police vehicle, there are confirmed records that limited trial units of HSVs, including the GTSR, were evaluated by high-level Australian police agencies for highway pursuit duty. Imagine the possibilities. A 385 horsepower monster, rear-wheel drive, tuned suspension, and the ability to rocket from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just over 5 seconds. It was the kind of firepower that could run down just about anything short of an exotic supercar. For a brief moment, some thought the GTSR could be the future of high-speed policing in Australia. In the end, practicality and cost kept the GTSR from becoming a full-fledged patrol car. But for a fleeting moment, Australia's police forces considered one of the wildest muscle machines ever built as a tool of the law. It remains a fascinating what-if in Aussie motoring history. And if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear about the Ford that almost became Australia's answer to the American Highway Patrol pursuit monsters. Number 2. 1997 Ford EL Falcon GT, please consideration. Ford fired back in the late 90s with the EL Falcon GT, a big, brutal sedan that dripped with old-school muscle energy. It wasn't just built to look good, it was engineered to move with authority. Under the hood sat a 5.0-liter Windsor 5.8, tuned to produce about 200 kilowatts, 268 horsepower, and a massive 470 newton-meters of torque. . It wasn't the lightest car on the block, tipping the scales heavily compared to earlier Falcons. But once it got rolling, the ELGT pulled like a freight train, delivering relentless highway speed that few sedans could match at the time. While the ELGT wasn't officially a police pursuit vehicle, Ford wasn't shy about aiming it at law enforcement. Highway patrol divisions across Australia considered special order versions of both the ELXR8 and the ELGT for highway duty. These cars had the toughness, the stamina, and the speed needed to chase down modern offenders. Imagine it, cruising in what looked like a sleek, refined executive car, but having the firepower to hammer past 220 kilometers per hour, 137 miles per hour, when the situation demanded it. The ELGT wasn't just a muscle sedan, it was a badge of honor for Ford, a throwback to the golden days of Aussie 8 performance. But for our final surprise, let's rewind to a police car that didn't just chase criminals, it terrified them. A machine so powerful, so aggressive, it inspired one of the most legendary movie franchises ever made. It's time to meet the real-life roots of Mad Max's most famous ride. Number 1. 1973 Ford XB Falcon Pursuit Special, Mad Max inspiration. You can't talk Aussie police muscle without mentioning the car that became legend. Before it became the Mad Max Interceptor, the Ford XB Falcon GT Coupe served as inspiration, and in some cases, real police forces used similar pursuit specials. Packing the famous 351 CI Cleveland V8, these police-modified XB Falcons weren't just fast. They were built to survive the harshest conditions the Australian outback could throw at them. Reinforced frames, upgraded cooling systems, and oversized fuel tanks were all part of the blueprint, giving these beasts the stamina needed for relentless high-speed chases across endless stretches of open road. Top speed? Easily over 200 kilometers per hour, 125 miles per hour. Torque? Enough to pull a criminal's doors off. But the XB Pursuit Falcons didn't just rely on brute force. Their aggressive looks sealed the deal. Many were decked out in all-black livery, fitted with brutal bull bars, flashing red and blue beacons, and steel-reinforced front ends built for tactical takedowns. To an outlaw glancing nervously into the rearview mirror, seeing one of these monsters closing in meant one thing. You weren't getting away. The sheer presence of an XB Pursuit Special was enough to end chases before they even truly began. When George Miller brought Mad Max to life, he didn't invent the Interceptor concept out of thin air. He simply exaggerated a real legend. The XB Falcon Pursuit Specials already existed, already patrolled Australia's highways, already scared drivers straight. On screen or in real life, these machines didn't just chase criminals, they conquered them. And they remain to this day the most iconic Aussie cop car of all time. And that wraps it up. Australia's wildest muscle cars that once wore the badge. Which one caught you off guard? Let us know in the comments, and if your favorite didn't make the cut, drop it below. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Because next episode, we're uncovering even crazier machines you won't believe were real. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.